Hey, welcome back to the Octave Leap channel. I'm having an interview today with a very special woman who um, recently gave me a very illuminating read, a chart reading that blended two really cool things. One is the hero's journey, and the other is true sidereal astrology into a new paradigm for what natural abundance is. So we often think abundance is money, but what we're going to learn today through her story and her sharings is that abundance is about so much more than that, and money isn't really the thing that we want in the first place, even though we may convince ourselves of it. So I'd love to welcome to the chat today, Dre. Dre, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, so you're in front of a lovely tree, and I'm in front of a lovely tree cross section picture there. So that I guess this is a pretty grounded conversation. And in some cultures, trees do symbolize wealth and prosperity over time. So I think this conversation today that we want to have is how did you build such an amazing life? Like the life you live, homesteading, and the things you tell me that you get to do with your kids and your partner and the food you eat. For me, that's like the hippie luxury dream. So how did you get from where you were before to that?
It's definitely been a journey. It really started in the realm of food, when my first son was born, in 2013. I really started to realize that I needed to um, change the way I was nourishing myself, and because I now had this other little life that I had to take care of. And my husband already had gone down this path a little ways because he has a culinary degree. So when he was in culinary school, he had learned a lot about factory farming and all the kind of things, the way food was produced. And it really disgusted him. So when we met, he did not eat pork or beef. He just ate chicken, which is funny because the chickens are farmed just as horribly. But I think that was the view he'd gotten at the time. And I worked in a brewery and just pretty much drank beer and ate food at work and had cereal sometimes in the morning. That was when we met. So after, fast forward 5 years and after we had our first child and we got married, and I had already started to eat better. But at this point, I was like, well, I really got to kick this into gear and really take it seriously. So that's been a long journey of and anybody that's gone down that road kind of knows that every layer you peel back, you discover more. And that's what led us to land. And we've been looking for land for a while. Um, but we wanted something with water.
Mhm.
And we came from Nevada, and to get something with live water there is very expensive and difficult to find. So we looked north and came up to Idaho. And we we were able to the house that we were in was paid for, and so that was our box. We needed to have that. We wanted to buy debt free, so we looked for the piece of land that would fit, and we were divinely led to the perfect place. Um, we moved in 2020, but we moved before everything happened.
Mhm.
Like we moved as everything was happening.
Mhm.
And so we were able to get our 16 acres for just under 200,000, and it's completely paid for. And we had so back up a little bit. We basically got led to this because we realized that the only way we were going to be able to eat food at the level that we desired it and be able to afford to do so was to do it ourselves.
Mhm.
Because when we before we moved up here, we ran a food truck for a few years, and we were doing local and organic and the best food we could find. Um, and it was a hard road because uh, price perception to sell our burger, our half pound burger at $14 was people were balking at it. And it to meet margin, it should have been $17 at the time. And now
Mhm.
they sell for, I've seen food trucks now that are selling a burger for over $20 now. But
Wow.
but back then when we did it, we have this first mover thing that we tend to do. We tend to be ahead of the curve in what
Mhm.
we do. But um it was a hard sell. We had a cult following, but it wasn't big enough to ever really get us anywhere. And it was really difficult to stay with our principles and our food principles. We did everything from scratch, and everything was sourced the best way that it could be sourced. We never could get the bread to be what we wanted it to be. Um, and that actually ended up being my next business. I decided I was just going to start making my own bread because I can't get bread to be what I need it to be. So I started making my own bread, and then that was Strong Wife sourdough,
Mhm.
and I sold that. And then, so we've just baby stepped our way into anything that we desired, looking at it and saying, okay, how is this created normally? How does it get to me in the store or through the distributor when you're running a restaurant, right? How does it get to me? And you go backwards and you kind of reverse engineer and you figure out, okay, well, the best pork is fed this way and the best bread is made this way. And then okay, then I'm just going to try it and I'm going to do it and I'm going to see if I like doing it. And I found out pretty quickly that all the things that I most loved to imbibe were also the things that I also most loved to make. So,
Mhm.
so they, so fast forward to now, and we've been up here for 5 years and building this homestead out, and we have a milk cow now, and we farrow our own pigs. They're American guinea hogs. They're smaller.
Mhm.
We break a lot of paradigms. Everybody wants their pigs to grow really fast, and ours take 2 years to grow. But we don't have to feed them as much, and they're really sweet, and they roll over for belly rubs, and they're safe for my kids, and they're really easy to butcher. So we butcher our own. We do everything from start to finish. We don't outsource. Um, I'm not going to say 100%. There's definitely still things that I haven't figured out how to do. And that's kind of where the community aspect comes in. And that's what we're building up here now. We started Guerrilla Provisions just recently. And that is it's basically an inspiration blog, but its vision and its goal is to create a lateral network of other individuals that are doing things themselves, that are creating from their own abundance within, and create an abundance network up here where we can all share with each other what we have and fill the gaps because everybody's got something that they don't do and something where they don't shine, where it's not their exciting thing to do. But yeah, I don't know if I've kind of circuitously answered your question there.
I really believe you have. This is super cool. And so, how many tens of millions of dollars do people need to get started with this?
Well, we have managed to make it happen. I would say we've probably spent, including getting the property. The property was 200,000, but we were able to sell a home and
Yeah.
fold that into this. We've probably spent maybe I don't know, another 150,000 over the 5 years.
Wow.
And that's in just infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's really going to depend on what you get. And if this is even your path. But
Mhm.
if you talk about, if you
I
go
guess the
down in,
point I'm trying to make is it cheaper than people would tend to think?
oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And you have to break paradigms. You have to constantly break paradigms for yourself. You have to realize that, um, like I'm on 16 acres now. My house is 550 square feet, and I have 4 children. Um, but we spend, aside from our sleeping time and when we have a meal, we're outside.
Mhm.
So our house is actually 16 acres large, It's it's like it's really big. It's more like three. We have a boundary for the boys. They have a 3 acre swath. They are free to roam, and the rest of it we have to be together if we go out there. So they're not hanging out with the moose and the bears and the other things that are out here. But um it doesn't really take much. What you'll find is with every item that you go after, and you just have to kind of go for what you desire and you feel like you can't afford. And for me, like a good example is chocolate. I was getting to the point where the only chocolate bars I would buy were those Who bars because they have the best ingredients, but they're like $6 a bar. And they're not huge. It's really expensive, and I enjoy chocolate. I don't eat it a lot, but I need to have it in reserve. It's important for a mom, I feel like. So I just started looking into how to make chocolate.
Mm,
And so a wellness mama, she's a blog that I usually refer to for a basis on recipes because she has a similar
hmm.
set of principles than I do. And then I change it for myself. But I mean, it's like 2 parts cocoa butter to 1 part cocoa powder and 1 part honey. And that is all it is,
Yeah.
And I just over a double boiler melt the cocoa butter. I I put the honey in. It depends. If my honey's crystallized, I put it in and melt it with that. If it's nice and liquid still, then I'll just whisk it in so it stays raw. And then add the cocoa powder and pour it into my molds, and I sprinkle some salt on top.
Wow.
And it cost me a twelfth of the price. Like I can
Well,
a twelfth of the price, and it's even better ingredients yet, and it tastes better. We enjoy it a lot more.
there's
And it's
some
just so simple.
there's something to be said. I recently interviewed this guy who created a plasma device, and he was an alchemist. And I was asking, he was showing me his alchemical setup, and it was amazing. I'm like, oh, why don't you sell this? And he's like, no, the point is that when you create these things, that's your alchemy. Like you're initiated in the creation of these things. It changes you. So part of it feels like to me there's been a transformation in you from actually going through and making all this stuff yourself and stuff and not outsourcing that like so much like our societies are basically set up for this outsourcing.
For sure. And I definitely came across my death and rebirth when we moved here
Yeah.
with that. Because for context, I married a culinarian and I could barely cook my way out of a macaroni and cheese box when I met him. And and I just ate at work, which was easy, right? So I was spoiled for the first, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years of our marriage, or not our marriage, our being together. We were together for 4 years before we got married, but like our first 7 or 8 years being together, I was spoiled because he cooked me amazing meals, and we ate out and spent way too much money eating out all the time because our bar was set so high, you know. And so, but we that's what we spend our money on was food and um and good beer and good wine. That was where we spent our money before I really had to get serious about being a mom. And and so I was totally spoiled by him, and the meals were incredible and they were plated and they were beautiful, like being at a fine dining restaurant every night. In fact, we even did dinners in our home. We called them gorilla dinners, which is where the gorilla originally came from.
Mm.
Um, because they weren't above board by any means. I just sold them to my regulars at the bar, and then we had them in our living room, and we did 5 courses paired with the homebrew because my husband makes beer and like specially done cocktails, and we just did that like in our home.
Wow.
So I mean, it was fun. It was a blast. And then I cooked a little bit here and there because he had more he needed to do. Um, so I cooked a little bit and I learned a lot about cooking from him. But then when we moved here, it was such a sudden change because now we moved on to it's not fair land, but it was just there's a pole barn, like a large one, and a really gross mobile home that we're tearing down. It's like right here. It's coming down.
Mhm.
And and there was no real place to live in. So we were in an RV and we closed in one wing of the pole barn and turned that into a home. And that's over there. That's our home. It still has, everybody calls it Idaho siding. I dropped my thing
I
where
see.
they you don't put the siding up yet. It's still just got the plastic on. But so he had so much work to do. I mean, he needed to build our homestead, completely build it, and I needed to cook. Like it had to be me now. And so it was confronting. Um, and I would panic. I would get like, it'd be like an hour before dinner time, and I would just lose it and start crying and freaking out. And I'd run out and find him, and I'd be like, I just have no idea what's for dinner. You have to figure something out. He would just like come in, and I would call it, he would top chef it. He could just like pull whatever out of the fridge and just turn it into a meal like
Mm.
nothing. And I was so jealous. But it was a slow process for me, but I got through it. I mean, it probably took like that whole year. We spent more money than we should have buying out, like buying food in that was made so that I could get through the hard days of building our home and having things go and finding a flow for myself because I didn't
Right.
have a flow. And he never showed me flow. He showed me lots of cooking techniques and how to use a knife and all these things, but like everything else from him it looks like magic from the outside because he literally could just look in a fridge and be like, oh, and then just pull it together like it's nothing within minutes. And so I didn't learn that, and I had to learn my way, and I had to start from scratch. And and I really wanted to honor him and honor what he was providing because he's building a beautiful homestead. It's very beautiful here.
Mm.
And it started rough.
Mhm.
So um, I knew I had to rise to that challenge. And that was definitely my death and rebirth on everything. And now I cook. I do all the cooking occasionally. I mean, he cooks my birthday dinner
Oh.
and, you know, and occasionally I'll ask him and he'll make something. But, um, but more so just because I miss his cooking and I want like him to cook a fancy meal every once in a while. So he's happy to do so. But now it's just me. And I've like really found a way to use like where my skill is in zero waste, you know,
Mhm.
and finding a way to use everything and fold it into the next thing or just stretching it and making everything last. And at that I could see. So where like he can look in the fridge and see a great meal, I look in the fridge and I see like how to make everything in that fridge last 7 days. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And how to fold it into what's coming from the land and what I have, over here, what I know is coming next. Like that's a natural thing for me.
So
So,
it's abundance and honoring without waste. And I think that's the most there's like a cleanliness to that because often, sometimes we hear abundance, we might think a lot, and then we might think a lot just means there's a lot of things to clean up or a lot of waste or something too that goes with it, right? Like, so abundance mindset people, when they want Ferraris or they want yachts, right? Like that's what they want. Well, okay, you can have that, but like there's going to be a lot of waste in the creation of those things just because of the manufacturing process and the resources that go into that. But with what you're talking about, it's about really seems like you get everything you want. You get the sensual pleasures, the tastes, the experiences, and there's no waste.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
especially on a homestead because there's
Yeah.
even if my littles don't eat all their food, then the pigs are happy to help with that problem. And then that becomes pork,
Hmm.
So every output has an input. It becomes an input. And that's the goal. My husband's a permaculture designer, and it's one of the main ideas in permaculture that you connect all the systems. You try to figure out how can nothing be a waste. I mean, we even do human manure here. We compost our own waste
Mm.
and it goes on to the perennials. So it's we don't we go to the dump once every 2 weeks maybe to take a few bags, except for right now because we're tearing that mobile down. We're going
Right.
a little more. But that's the goal. The goal is to even not have to go to town but once every 2 weeks. And most of the year we can do that. Most of the year we're able to do that.
Wow.
And it's lovely. It's so nice to have just a space that you call your own that's like, I know we were avid campers before we did this, and it's so funny because we have all this camping gear, but
Hmm.
now we're like, we don't need it now because we just like live. We live where what we've been seeking the whole time, all the things we spent our excess money on when because we had money flowing before. But all the things that we spent it on were things that were seeking the life we finally fell into. We finally found, we discovered it. And now that we're here, we don't need that much. We don't need that much money. We need to pay the property taxes every year and the power bill, which is less than $100 a month for us.
Hmm.
And I supplement a little bit of what we grow because we're still building soil here. But it's producing more every year and we're buying less every year.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we do a lot of trade, a lot of barter, a lot of trade. That's how we got started with pigs, not these ones, but um there was just a pork that was in a really nice store here. Like it's called Winter Ridge and it's not a cooperative, but it's got that same, it's a small, like single mom and pop natural food store.
Hmm.
And that's where we do most of our shopping if we buy anything. And there was a good pork product in there that I asked the butcher about, and he was like, "Yeah, she's really great. She's just right in the valley, and she doesn't live far from us." And so I just called her, and like I just looked her up and cold called her, and I just said, are you open to somebody like, do you do private sales, and are you open to somebody harvesting their own?"
Hmm.
And she was. And we'd never done it, but my husband had a little bit of like just from culinary school, like, like one butcher class, right? He wasn't like he's not like a butcher or anything, although we've become butchers. But yeah, she was open to that. So he went and the first one she had a guy that will do mobile butchering come out and do it on the farm. And so he did the kill, but then he did everything else. And the guy has been great. He's like taught Rye what to do. People love it when you show interest in all these old world skills and you find a person, they're so thrilled to show you because it's all dying,
Hmm.
and they want it to survive. So he showed Ryan what to do, and then the next time it was like Ryan went over there and he just like handed the 22 to Ryan and was like, "All right, you're doing it this time." It was like, "Oh,
Oh.
okay." But so it's like she was open to trade. Next thing you know, we're in a full trade relationship with her where he's doing work trade. And now we didn't pay for pork for 2 years because she needed help. And you find those things, like whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that you desire. I mean, you may not be into butchery, that's a niche thing, but whatever you desire, like the universe just makes a way for it for you. But you have to be creative. You got to think outside the box. You got to be able to do things a way you wouldn't have thought to do it before.
And this is a good point because it really sounds like with everything, there's been a flow to it. There's been an efficiency. Everything's kind of happened in this flow. So abundance comes in, delivers everything you could possibly want in this wonderful flow. However, there's a lot of people out there that want things and they never seem to be able to get them. So, what's in the way that you've observed for a lot of other people? What are the things that need to shift in order to end up in this inflow of abundance into your life?
Well, you just have to, I mean, there's a huge part of it is actually imagining yourself having it, like just having it
Hmm.
and knowing and believing that it's there for you, knowing and believing that the way exists.
Hmm.
But then you also have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone, and to cross the threshold, so to say. So, I mean, that goes into a lot of what I do with the astrology side of what I do, but um, I use an overlay with the hero's journey on that, the Joseph Campbell's work.
Hmm.
And in that, you start in your ordinary world, you have a call to adventure, which is going to be these things that you desire, these things that you feel like you can't have. But then you're going to come against a hard thing that you have to cross, something you have to you have to choose to do something different, and it's very related to your call. You'll feel the call to do so, but you might be afraid to do it.
Hmm.
So then you cross, and then you embark on this journey, and you meet mentors like Ryan meeting the butcher guy that was happy to show him how to do what to do, and you have allies and helpers that help you along the way and show you build relationships like the relationship he built with Jen on her farm, helping her, and then from there you're gonna have ups and downs, and it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be,
Mm.
it'll be difficult. But
Hmm.
then once you hit like that final showdown, whatever it is, where you really have to like just take the plunge and make the decision to do things differently, make that huge, maybe it's moving, maybe whatever it is that you have to do to change your life, you do it. Once you do that, then it becomes like easy again. Then you've found a new flow and you're back to where you were again, and you've spiraled to a new level of being.
Yeah. So would you say that like when people do get stuck or they're not receiving abundance in their life or there's a stagnation or a lack of flow, it's because they're at one of the points along this journey and they just haven't allowed themselves to really meet that. So maybe let's take an example, allies and helpers, right? So somebody reaches that natural stage of the progression, but they're the kind of person who does everything themselves.
Could be,
Typically.
yeah. Or they're not realizing that during that specific phase that sometimes the people that are troublesome in your life are actually your helpers.
Mm,
They're your mirrors. They're showing you the things that you're they're showing you your own flaws in yourself, right? The things
mm.
that you need to overcome. And so you might be feeling challenged by your allies and helpers instead of helped by your allies and helpers. But everything that comes to us, like every single thing that comes to us, is aiding us on our journey in life, whether good or bad. There is no good or bad in the journey. There's all just stepping stones.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And it could also be that they're living somebody else's dream and not their own.
Mhm.
So you have to turn off the noise. You have to stop taking in media.
Mhm.
You got to turn it off, and you have to tune into your own dream, your own vision for your future. I've really been seeing this a lot lately, but um, our imaginative faculty, that
Mhm.
part of us that can dream, that can vision the future, that is what's creating our future. It precedes thought that precedes form. So whatever you are imagining, that's our power. And that's why it's harnessed. That's how it's harnessed through media. Because if you can fill everyone's or enough people's imaginative faculties with I mean, I have most of my examples are from my boys, so like the Avengers and things like that, and they're living in a fantasy world of wanting to be heroes. And so
Mhm.
then they're fighting all the time and they're creating all these play fights, and everybody says, "Well, they're just boys." Yes, but I think that if I had made different choices on what they consumed, I bet they would be running around creating together instead
Mhm.
of destroying together. Because it's natural to create. That's very innate in us, and we all desire to create in some way. So you have to turn it all off. And it took us a while, but we did. We slowly, I don't check into anything anymore. I don't doom scroll, as everybody calls it, right? I have a few podcasts that I really enjoy that we listen to, but they're uplifting and they're resonant,
Mhm.
you know? But otherwise, I don't take in media anymore. We don't take it in. We hear about the horrible atrocities of the world from our neighbors. They let us know what's going on
Mhm.
because they're all still watching and listening.
Mhm.
And so we very strongly feel, because that's the number one thing somebody says is, well, how are you going to know? I was like, how, I don't know. If somebody comes to my gate and it's a problem, we'll handle the problem at the gate. Like, this is where I live. This is where I am. The problem is not here. It's not here in my paradise that I'm building. And if it comes to my paradise, you just try to take it. and see what happens. That's not happening. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We're building a beautiful thing here. And when you start living in beauty and you only allow beauty to enter your eyes and your ears and your mouth, you know, you only allow that. You're very discerning about what you imbibe. Um, you're only able to create beauty.
Yeah.
So that's why we chose when we decided to plug back in to inspire. That's why we just started Gorilla Provisions because we're doing so many amazing things and we just see so many people um, frozen in fear right now and making horrible decisions out of fear. And we just felt like it was time to share. It's time to share the opposite
Mm.
and let everybody know that beauty exists everywhere and you don't have to partake in the fear. The fear is being fed to you to harness your imaginative faculty so that you create what is desired by whoever is whoever wants it. I don't know. I don't care about the theys because they have no power over me.
That is so important because I often like I look at it, I manifest things very well in life. And I also realized too, I had a huge up leveling when like there was a Facebook app on my phone and I still was like I have cool people on there, but I still got in the like thing of scrolling and I like the people I curate sort of my friends list, but um there was still a scrolling thing that would happen as I would kind of go through the news feed and take a look at what's happening, what people are saying. And then like I haven't updated my phone in a long time, so the app stopped working. So I don't have that access to it anymore. And I'm like, huh, I wonder why my manifestation power got stronger and like life seems to flow better. It's because there's less going in. And
Right.
I don't use Instagram, YouTube, I just put my videos on. So for me, it's like actually taking out that media or being very intentional. I want to learn this course, so I'm going to watch these videos, that type of thing. Um, as opposed to, just kind of getting other people's opinions or this. Because like we're not wired to know what's going on the other side of the world. As tragic as things are over there, we're not wired to be concerned with things that are outside our control. Like you said, the more we can be focused on what's happening in my physical world, that's how we evolved. We didn't evolve knowing news from every corner of the earth. Then we're bringing it back to being real again. When we start to project our mind into these other places, I think so much of our energy gets trapped on the mental plane, unable to actually go and actualize things. The way that it's been described, manifestation or thoughts are sort of um, like, like they kind of fly out, and there's like a little magnet on the end. So like a little magnet that flies out to us, and they pick out something in our environment and pull it back to us or draw it in, right?
Hmm.
So if we're thinking about the things that happen on the TV, for instance, and the events that are being shown there, we're going to see that. I'm in the US and it's different than Canada. I'm just traveling right now. And it's very interesting to talk to people because some people that don't watch media look very happy and very young and vibrant. And some people who watch a lot of media, they're telling you their story of what they're certain is going to happen in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And it's I mean we have neighbors that worry all the time and we don't see them very much because they're busy worrying, you know? And and then we've built a beautiful network up here of people that are excited and inspired and want to make a beautiful world. And I would argue that if you bring your consciousness, your awareness back into your body and into your space, into your sphere of control and your even those that you can inspire, right? If you bring it back there, that's how you'll change the world.
Hmm.
But when you send your consciousness, you send your awareness to somewhere that you have no control over, there's nothing you can do. Then
Yeah.
all you're doing is sending worry energy there and you're missing out the beauty of your life and you're missing out the power that you have to affect your life
Hmm.
and those around you and those that see you and be a beacon for others and maybe help them out of their fear trap because that's what it is. It's a trap.
Hmm.
And it's the same story over and over.
So let's talk a little bit about the way that you help others, which is the astrological hero's journey, using true sidereal. Now you gave me mine, and like I took a day or two to reply because maybe 3 days because I've been traveling and closing out this retreat. So, but I did look at it, and it's like not only is it spot on, but it's also very timely, and it allowed me to kind of put this phase that I'm in of a particular endeavor um, into perspective. And so, with that perspective, I know where I'm currently at, and then also too what the next thing is that's coming. And so one of them was to take time to integrate the wisdom from your rebirth. I never take time for things. I've got a story running in my mind that, oh yeah, I'm quick, I'm smart, I'm adaptable, I'm just going to go on to the next thing. But that often works against me. And so when I saw that, it's like, oh, and then like it was like a sigh of relief. And I arranged time in my own calendar to honor that wisdom, to take the time to integrate the wisdom. Um, and it's like otherwise things won't work, or otherwise we won't be in this natural flow, right?
Right.
Otherwise there'll be some level of artificial trying or striving or something else, and we're not actually following the pathway that nature's laid for us.
Right. That's that inaction being action is a difficult one for my husband and I a lot too.
Yeah,
Like realizing that right now the action I need to take is actually inaction. That I need to just sit here and be with myself and wait for the intuitive hit to do something else. Instead of sitting, going into monkey mind where you're like, okay, what's on the list? What are all the things I have to do? What's got to get done in order to get toward my goal? But then you limit the universe when you do that.
yeah.
Because, you know, whatever you call it, God, whatever it is, right? Whatever the I am is that we are, that also is connected to everything and is one, has everything as a potential to put together toward your path,
Mhm.
all the unfathomable. Whereas we just see what's right around us and in whatever rut we're in, right? So, so what I do is I fell into this. I When I first started doing astrology, I started with True Sidereal because I got a True Sidereal reading at a time when I needed one. And it resonated with me. I never did tropical. I mean, I read horoscopes in the papers and always thought they were just kind of nothing, like they were just something to laugh about. But I was so struck by my reading that I dove into it. And I tend to try to bootstrap, as you could, as you've heard from my stories. So I wanted to know more, but I figured the best way to know more, the most affordable way to know more was just to learn how to do astrology. So I just did that. And I learned from both Athen and Isaac Rodriguez. And so I've been doing it a hybrid of their way for a while. And it was all right. But it took me a while to do every reading. And I didn't feel like I was getting paid enough, but I was too new to ask for too much and the whole thing. So um, it had its own rebirth. And one day it just clicked with me. Another job that I did, I worked for a friend. I helped her with all her back end for a school, an alternative school. It was a learner driven community. And their overarching theme was the hero's journey. So I knew the hero's journey forward and backward because I've done nothing but create content for them based around the hero's journey, like for children. I've like created tons and tons of quests and content all around this hero's journey. So I
Mhm.
was like, know it so well. So I thought, and I always knew that the astrology wheel was the same. Like it's the same path. And I always knew it was. And so I just sat down one day and it flowed out of me like nothing to just sit and write down exactly how the hero's journey overlays specifically on the true sidereal. And you need a fucus in there to make it
Oh,
make sense. Yeah, because that's
yeah.
the death and rebirth. is through Chiron, through your wounds, and who's the ruler of a fucus, right? So, and that's I do 13 sign astrology. So for me, it fits so well that I went from it would take me 2, 3 days to find enough hours of concentration time to do somebody's chart in the middle of being a mom of four on a homestead, right?
Mhm.
To I can write out one of these in 45 minutes. Just sit down and just I just see it. It just it flows. It's like perfect. I get it. I see it, and so I can just pull somebody's chart up and then just do a full, a full report on their astrological hero's journey, and it just makes perfect sense. So, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know if you want me to go into what everybody represents, what everything represents in there, but
Um, Actually, not right now, but we are going to be doing this in more detail soon, aren't we?
yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool because I've asked Dre, I brought her on to do a workshop with the hero's journey, with which he's talking about in True Sidereal Astrology. So that's happening um, October 6th and 7th, I believe, right? 6th and
seventh and eighth.
7th and 8th, yeah. And it's pay what you want. So, you can come out and get a sense of what this is about. And I think that would be a better venue for explaining it in greater detail. Because like right now, I think just even becoming aware that astrology works with the hero's journey is a big step for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that it works so nicely because I think that's the thing a lot of astrology readings are missing in human design as well. It's sort of like, well, where is the progression? Where do we start this reading and where does it take us? And I think every reader has their own formula with that when they're reading for somebody. But like we want to see a progression, not just like a secondary progression. It's like, well, how is life now in 2025 versus when we're born? But an actual like, okay, this is how things move in a sequence. And that was the part for me that was really illuminating. And some of the stuff even now, some of the challenges that I'm going through in life are really put into perspective because I'm like, oh, that's where I'm at in this particular endeavor.
Yeah, and it's a spiral. So it's you can spiral up or down. It's up to you.
Uh-huh.
But it's a spiral. And I believe you can transcend it. I
Hmm.
don't believe you are bound by it.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe that you spiral right out of it.
Hmm.
And I don't know how many lives that takes you to do so. You know, but um but I see that. A lot of that came from Ike. That's Isaac Rodriguez. Um he doesn't do the best job at having an internet presence like he should, but Sidereal Astrologist, I think is what he calls himself on YouTube. But he's made I don't know, he found some stuff like in the Hermetica that talks about the zodiac being a trap, being like designed to be a trap. And I don't have the exact phrasing, but I mean it's just like from reading the Hermetica, that's what he got out of that was that um it was put in place to trap us, to keep us stuck, right?
Hmm.
And so he likes to do different things. He likes to do reverse house system, and he sees that as a way to go against the trap. Um, I don't I don't resonate with him on that. I think we're meant to go through it, but
Hmm.
I think that we can spiral up out of it.
Yeah.
And that's how it's a good tool. I think that it can easily be a trap when when you look at it through the victim consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, but when you come at it as the hero and you go through it and you are excited to see the new version of yourself when you get back to the ordinary world, um, then yeah, and you always you spiral up toward your rising sign, like toward whatever your rising sign is. That's what you're more embodying is the higher version of that,
Mm-hmm.
which mine is Taurus, so there's all that abundance and 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 preserving and using everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I think this has been a great discussion on abundance, homesteading, and a little bit about True Sky Astrology. So if people want to learn more, definitely come to the workshops. There's a link to that in the description below. It's pay what you want. There's a replays available. So just sign up, right? We're spreading the abundance with these workshops. So if you're interested, just go and sign yourself up and, pay whatever you can or feel like. So money isn't really an object. But then you also have a website where people can order the reports. Is that correct? If they wanted a full hero's journey report?
Right. My website is
Huh.
pioneerpriestess.com, and you have to contact me for a report. I'm not normal like everybody. Um, I don't use credit cards, so I don't take credit cards.
Mm,
And I really want to foster person-to-person communication again.
mm.
I think it's so important that we just speak to each other and get to know each other again.
Yeah,
So you have to contact me, and I mean through the contact form, and then we have a discussion about the best way for you to pay. And I'm open to all sorts of things. So um, yeah, it's kind of a one-on-one thing. But
great.
then yeah, then that'll get you an astrological hero's journey report, and I have that. And then the other place you can find me is more of the homesteading stuff is at Guerrilla Provisions. And that's guerrilla, like guerrilla warfare with two R's and two L's. Guerrillaprovisions.com. And both my husband and I blog there
Mhm.
and talk about our journey here on the homestead and what we're growing here.
Amazing. Well, it's been awesome catching up with you, Dre. This has been a real cool conversation. And so thank you very much for joining me. And thank you for the abundance of trees and nature that we both have. I'm actually in a very beautiful place right now in Northern California, but
Nice.
just in a tiny home.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take care.